So this is a screencast on the very first mini lab we'll be doing in class, which is going to be looking at the speed that a cart goes down a ramp, or how long it takes a cart to go down a ramp. And we're going to title the data table, "The Effect of the Type of Timing Device on the Accuracy and Precision of the Data." Now you'll have two different timing devices. One will be a stopwatch, which is considered our manual time. And then we'll have a photo gate system, which we'll call the electronic time. A photo gate system is pretty basic. You have lasers that shoot the beam to a detector. And when the object blocks the light, it starts the timer. And then when the object gets to the next beam, it stops the timer. So it's a timing device that deals with the breaking of the beams of light. Now, this lab will essentially, in the classroom, you'll have this setup where you have a cart running down a ramp. And we're going to take the time from clamp A to clamp B. And as it goes down the ramp, the first time you and your partner will take the time using a manual stopwatch. And then the second time that you do it, you'll take the time using the photo gate system. Once we've done that, we will go back to the data here and we'll write this data into our spreadsheet. Actually, what you'll do is write it on the board, and then after every group has put their data on the board, we'll copy it into our spreadsheet. So this is sample data. This will not be what you get, but this is just to show you how to do it once you get your numbers. Let's say that it takes around 0.75 seconds, 0.84 seconds, 0.65 seconds, 0.73 seconds, and 0.84 seconds. Now, this would be the times that each different lab group got, and these would be our different trials. Now, if there's enough people in the class, we'll have up to 6 trials, but let's assume that there were only 5 trials in this class. So now we have to find the average time of all of these trials. The way you do that is you add these 5 numbers up and divide by 5, right? That's how you find an average or the mean. Well, in this case, we're going to have the calculator. We could have a calculator do it for us, or we could use the spreadsheet. So we'll come up here to this functions button, click on it, tell it to average, and notice you see the equal sign. Equals in a cell, it's also listed up here, tells the computer that it's going to do a calculation. And it wants to know to average what numbers? Well, these 5, you hit enter, and lo and behold, it pops up on your screen for you. Now, you're also going to calculate the standard deviation, which down here you're going to define what that is, so I won't give that away. But essentially, you're going to have to start off with the equal sign to tell it to do a calculation. And we start off typing standard deviation, and then here it comes up. And now we tell it we want to find the standard deviation of these 5 numbers, hit return, and we now have a value that will mean something to you after you've answered this question and we've talked about it in class. And then finally, you're going to calculate the speed that it traveled. Well, in order to calculate speed, you have to know the equation, which is speed equals distance divided by time. That's abbreviated here with S equals D over T. So let's give you an example. Let's say that the distance the cart traveled was 2 meters, and the time that it took for it to travel that distance was 4 seconds. Well, what we now have is a math problem, 2 divided by 4. So when you do that, you're going to get 0.5. It's best to write in decimals and not fractions in science. So 1/2 would be, you just want to convert that into the decimal form. Now, notice our units, meters per second. There was nothing to cancel out the units, so our units are meters per second. And so our answer, our speed of our cart in this example would be 0.5 meters per second. So now, how would we tell the computer to do that? Well, it's real simple. You click on the cell, tell it to do equals, and we need to do our distance, which was 2 meters, but we're not going to put M because the spreadsheet doesn't like units. And we're going to use the slash for the divide sign, and we want to divide it by let's say this case, our average time was 0.762. So that's my time right there. And now I have put that into the spreadsheet. I hit return, and it gives me an answer of 2.62 meters per second. So once again, all I did was take the distance that it traveled divided by this average time, and that gives me that answer right here. Now you'll want to do the same thing for the electronic time in PhotoGate, and then you'll want to go down and answer these questions in red, please. Now, how do you do that? Well, let's say that you want to answer the first question. You're just going to come up here, select the font, select red, and you're ready to start typing. In this case, in my example, the distance traveled was 2 meters. So what was the distance traveled by the cart? Please include the proper unit in your answer. I've written down 2 for the distance and meters for the unit. Now, in your actual lab, this will not be the distance. However, this will be the unit. Now, how do you define these words like accuracy, precision, standard deviation? I think a great way to do that is go to Google. And you say to Google, accuracy, scientific definition. That just popped up for me, but you don't want to just get the basic English definition. You want to get the scientific definition. So I type that in, and it gives me an answer right here. Now, if you pan down at the answers, you're going to find one that makes sense to you. Let's say I try this website right here, and it says accuracy refers to the closeness of a measured value to the standard or known value. And then it gives me an example. So I think that if I read all of this and it makes sense to me, then I'm ready to answer that question. If it doesn't make sense, then you need to do a little bit more searching until you think you're comfortable with what accuracy is, what precision is, what standard deviation is, etc. Then here, these 2 questions you're going to answer pretty straightforward. Which one was more accurate once you have the background information on what these things mean, and which time was more precise. And then finally, as a student scientist, which method would you use in your laboratory investigations and why? Well, one of them quite possibly will be the clear winner, and you're going to tell me which one that is, either the manual stopwatch time or the electronic PhotoGate time, and then you're going to give me why that's important. All right? That may take 1, 2, 3 sentences, but you need to elaborate. Don't just give me the first part of the answer. Make sure you give me the whole thing. And once you finish all that, you're going to hit the turn in button, and your assignment will be turned in, and then I'll look over it and we'll talk about it the next day.